Hello, my name is Christopher Rutherford, and I did my presentation on my community in Philadelphia. I'm start with demographics. The the population for Philadelphia is 1.5 million residents. Out of that population, for its race, it is broken up to 44.3 are black, 45 are white, Asians are 7.2, other would be 2.4, Native Americans would be zero point 0.8. As far as gender, it's pretty much split half and half. Males 47%, females 53%. As far as age, all minors, meaning 0 to 17, are 22% of the residents in Philadelphia. Out of that 22%, 7% of the population is 0 to 4. The remaining population would be the 18 and up adults, and that makes up 78%. And out of that 78%, 12% of the residents make up the elderly population, which is identified as 65 and up. Additional stats. So, according to the EJ Screen ACS summary report, individuals that were 25 and older during the 2011-2015 period are broken down as such. Those that have less than a high school diploma were 18%. Those that had obtained at least a high school diploma were 34%. And individuals that obtained some level of college or above were 48%. The poverty rate in Philadelphia is quite high, so I decided to do a comparison. In accordance to CDC, in Philadelphia, the poverty rate is 25.3% in comparison to the overall poverty level, which is 12.9% in Pennsylvania. As far as crime is concerned, I compared the stats between 2016 and 2017. The citywide crime report shows that violent crimes are down by 3% and property crimes are down by 2%. As far as religion is concerned, I'm not gonna go over all of them, but one stat that actually like really stands out, which is the number of residents that do not claim a religious affiliation at all, and that stat is 51.2. Yes, 51.2%. Institutions. So some formal institutions, as far as industry and employment, you have the Independence Blue Cross, the Coca-Cola Company, Kraft. You also have the pharmaceutical companies, so the GlaxoSmithKline, SEPTA, which actually takes up or actually is in control of almost all of transportation within Philadelphia. Philadelphia also has a lot of other industries, as far as financial institutions and things like that, healthcare, and other opportunities for employment. As far as education is concerned, I've just named just a few. So we have on here Thomas Jefferson University, Drexel Community College of Philadelphia, and the Big Five. So LaSalle, Penn, University Penn, St. Joseph's, Temple. Of course, the only one that's not actually in Philadelphia, even though it's considered one of the Big Five, would be Villanova. Informal institutions. So I've included our sports teams. So you have the Flyers, the Phillies, Philadelphia Soul, 76ers, and the most recent Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. As far as informal institutions, so I only named a few, but as you can see, the first American zoo, which would be the Philadelphia Zoo, and we also have the Kimball Center, uh, and the famous Rocky Stairs in front of the Philadelphia Art Museum, and also I've included the waterfront, which Philadelphia has consistently been building on and adding to. So we have the Blue Cross Blue Shield skate rink, the Spruce Street Harbor, and food, and just wonderful activities for all families and all ages to come out. So here's a map of my community. So as you can see, I actually have Hart in the Mount Airy section because that is where I live. It's considered neighborhood within Philadelphia. One of the things about Philly, which is quite awesome, is that even though it is a huge community all within itself, it has sub communities, which is considered neighborhoods. In most cases, if you were to ask anyone where they're from in Philly, if you were talking to them within Philadelphia, they would identify themselves as neighborhoods. But if we were speaking to someone outside of Philly, then more than likely you might get a response such as overall. So North Philly, Southwest Philly, Northeast, far Northeast. But most cases, if we're communicating within each other, we normally identify ourselves by our neighborhood. So a good community assessment. So after reading the the reading for this week, which was the Ohio State University fact sheet, and doing an assessment of what's considered a good community, I actually kind of found myself to be looking at it from two different perspectives. I would say that Philadelphia kind of meet the halfway mark when it comes to a good community. So when it comes to safety, definitely Philadelphia is a pretty good. I would say that they are pretty good within this area. And the reasons being, as the article stated, not just necessarily for crime's sake, as we saw earlier in the presentation, that crime is actually continuing to go down, but also far as safety, far as the city being able to handle natural disasters, traffic control. We have a lot of major highways, a lot of major streets that kind of keep the cars and traffic out of residential streets and things like that. So for the most part, I would say for our safety, I would say we're doing pretty good. We're not on the list to be Philadelphia this year, so I would say that we're doing good. Um, as far as goods and services, uh, one of the other reasons why I made sure that I put up the map of neighborhoods is because it is so easily accessible to obtain goods and services, because there there is a plethora of access within each neighborhood, and it's to the point where individuals are actually able to walk to various places of employment, or walk to various stores, as far as supermarkets, as far as clothing stores. So there's definitely a lot of goods and services available. As far as relationships that bind citizens together, this is where you begin to see the decline for the sense of community. And I definitely agree with the article where it says that that sense of community begins to get lost when it becomes a metropolitan city or my metropolitan area, and that's something definitely that we're losing. Even though we have communities from taking consideration of gentrification, and a lot of neighborhood shifting, and generations getting older, what seemed to be a close knit community are starting to not be as close knit as before. So that sense of community within that level is starting to dwindle. Well, it's visibly dwindling, and the same can be said for the commonality of values and goals. There isn't a lot of camaraderie, but what I will say is that where neighborhoods do try to keep some level or some sense of community is we still do a lot of block parties, but then also a lot of neighborhoods have a neighborhood day. So like my area, Mount Airy normally has a day within, I believe, either July or August, where everyone comes out and do certain activities, things like that. So you still have those opportunities. As far as the whole person principle, that also gets lost. Not everyone knows their neighbor very well, and that also goes with the predictability. When there aren't necessarily relationships established, it really is not as easy to identify or have an expectation of what will happen or what will not happen on the day-to-day routine. Although there are some things that remain the same, as far as like our transportation and things like that. So going even further, so recognizing the place in social structure, it wouldn't look the same as it would as far as a rural area or maybe a more close-knit community. But this would be actually more noticeable when there are sub communities. So maybe if there was like a law firm, not a law firm, but like a law community, or the political community, or church communities within certain neighborhoods, then in that sense, that's where you will see the social structure and see where I'm actually like see recognizable social positions. But other than that, an overall, that's kind of lost. As far as opportunities are concerned, this is where Philadelphia is able to pick that back up and look at it. And we're able to look at it as being a good community because there is a plethora of opportunities. And the reason being that there's so many opportunities within the community itself as well as outside. Now, the only downside would be is that as far as jobs are concerned, there are a lot of individuals who travel a certain distance away. The average actually is between 25 to 30 minutes. So that is to take into consideration. However, I would say that's still not bad. As far as homogeneity is concerned, one thing is for sure is that even though the closeness is not as it was maybe 20, 30 years ago, one thing still remains true is that the neighborhoods are definitely, even though Philadelphia is really diverse, the homogeneity of Philadelphia is noticeable from one neighborhood to the next. And you can see that if you were just to come visit and go from one neighborhood to another. So that's still, we still get to see that in Philadelphia, even though, like I said, we're pretty much very diverse. So overall, I would say that in consideration as a metropolitan city, I would say that Philadelphia is a good community. However, when looking at the various aspects or the various keys to a good community, there is a lot of room for improvement. And these are my references.